Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Movie Recapture. Today I will show you the American psychological mystery thriller film The Glass House. The movie shows an old man having an accident with the car of a 16-year-old girl's parents, first adopting the girl and then trying to get dirty with the girl and what happens to them in the movie. Our main character, Ruby, is seen with her girlfriend for the first time in the movie. Her parents went out today, so she went out to hang out with Ruby and her friends. The next day her parents had to discuss that Ruby was home too late, which was wrong. One day Ruby's parents had a wedding anniversary, and Ruby and her friends went for a drive in the car. When he returned home, he found two policemen in the house. Police tell him his parents died in a car accident when he fell unconscious. Then the pheno rail of his parents can be seen directly. There were their neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Glass, where they talked a lot about Ruby's parents. The day after the pheno rail is over, one day of Ruby's uncles comes to her, but she has never seen him in her life. Then his uncle tells Ruby that, "If you need anything you can let me know, I'm ready to help you." Ruby then says, "Uncle, where have you been so long?" Uncle says, "I haven't been able to maintain our relationship for so long. It could be between siblings. But I always thought, when I had time, I would come to you and spend time with you. But the time did not come. But now she's dead, so he wants to do something for Ruby's future, and Ruby agrees for her." Then her lawyer comes to Ruby's house and tells her that your mother had insurance and her father had a lot of money, so Ruby doesn't have to do anything in her life. But the neighbors will take care of them according to Ruby's parents' will. Then neighbor Terry and his wife Erin come over, and Terry says that it would be great if you started your life anew. So everyone got together and went to Terry's house in Malibu. They had a big house there, and a room for Ruby and her brother. But Ruby doesn't like it, so Erin says it will be your separate room after the temporary. Ruby and his brother don't like what he and his wife eat at night, so tonight they order pizza from outside. Robbie couldn't sleep at night, so he went out for a swim, but she thought someone was watching him secretly, so she left. Robbie goes to school the next morning, but the freedom that the school children get is not available in the school. When she arrives home, she is happy to see Terry give her clothes and video games for her brother. At night, Ruby was talking on the phone with her friends about how their school was. Erin gets very angry when she hears this and says, "If you want to make friends here, you have to change your attitude." Ruby didn't like it, knowing that Erin had secretly listened to her phone. She dreams about how his parents had an accident at night. One night Ruby was swimming at 3 o'clock, when Terry came up to her and looked at her very badly, and forbade her to swim like that at night. The next day there was a driving class at Ruby's school. There was a video showing how the accident happened, which reminded me of Ruby's parents' accident. Ruby doesn't want to eat at night, so she leaves. Erin tells him what happened. Ruby doesn't like it, so Erin gives Ruby one of her many medicines. Ruby sleeps a lot at night, but wakes up in the middle of the night to see Terry and his wife arguing. The next day Ruby tries to make friends at her new school, but no one does. Terry came to Ruby tonight and said, "I have a party tonight, come with me." Then at dinner Ruby tells him, "Why you are fighting at night?" Terry replies that there may be a quarrel between husband and wife. When Terry returned home, he was driving too fast. Ruby told him to slow down and he stopped and walked closer to Ruby. Ruby is scared, so Terry changes his mind and fastens his seat belt. Erin was taking drugs when she came home. It seems that Ruby is very wrong. The next day Ruby goes to her lawyer and says everything, but the lawyer says Ruby may be doing something wrong, and says if you don't want to be with them, then you have to stay in an orphanage, which will be more painful for you. After Ruby left, the lawyer called Terry and told him everything. Then after Ruby comes home, Terry and his wife Erin tell him, yesterday he had to take diabetic insulin when he sees Ruby. Then she believes it. One day when Ruby goes to her office to meet Terry, she is threatened by two men who try to kill her. Ruby is very scared to see it and goes downstairs to the walkway to see that Ruby's parents are in the car at the time of the accident. Ruby was watching the news of her parents' death on the internet at night, when she saw that they had a BMW car at the time of her parents' accident, but they never had a BMW car. Ruby then emailed his lawyer to find out whose car it was. Ruby was supposed to come and complete one tonight, but she fell asleep without it, and when she saw it she completed it. She is very happy when Ruby finds out in the morning. The next day at school, Ruby was visited by her social worker, who was probably sent by her lawyer. Then she finds out that Ruby and her brother live in the same room, so she feels very bad. When he went to their home in the afternoon to investigate, the social worker saw Terry separate their rooms. Ruby's brother was talking a lot about Terry. Ruby had a college letter to look at in the dustbin when everyone went out to promote the social worker. Terry, Ruby's college cancellation, brings back all his money and a letter from his uncle that they didn't tell Ruby. Terry blocked his account when he tried to mail his lawyer. Ruby came downstairs and listened to all her conversations, as if Terry was talking to someone on the phone. He said on the telephone that he would refund all the money. He also said that my business partner cheated on me, so gradually I would refund all your money. Now I am paying 30,000 USD. This money was brought back from Ruby's school. The next day at school, Ruby's lawyer calls and tells her that the car was owned by Terry at the time of her parents' death, and all her suspicions were on Terry, and her writing was copied. Terry's hand was behind it. Ruby realizes she's in danger, so she can't stay in this room. At night they steal Terry's car keys and call his brother. They try to escape in the car, but Terry wakes up and follows them. Ruby is stopped by police at the checkpoint when Terry and Erin arrive and take them home. On the way home, Ruby says, "Terry, you killed my parents." But Terry says, "These are your misconceptions. In fact, on their marriage anniversary I give them a good car as a gift." Ruby doesn't believe it and tries to escape, but Erin and Terry grab him home and inject him with sleeping pills. The next day Terry went to the bank manager and tried to withdraw money from Ruby's account. But the bank manager already knew that he had stolen 30,000 money from Ruby's account, so he blocked his account. Knowing this, Terry is very disturbed. She had no diabetics in the loan, and he used drugs all the time and stole it from the hospital. It takes him out when the head officer at the hospital finds out. There is a lot of arguing between Terry and Erin about these, and knowing that both of them are behind Ruby's parents' accident, Erin felt a lot of guilt, so she took drugs, but it doesn't matter to Terry. He says, "I can do everything for money." He needed drugs at night and he found them. Erin and Terry had a daughter when they were young. Erin was watching a video on a TV set and died emotionally after taking an overdose of drugs. Ruby finds out that she is very scared, and when Terry comes home she feels very bad. When Ruby was talking on the phone, Terry was furious. Ruby and her brother try to escape, but Terry catches them and keeps them in the basement. When they tried to get out of the basement, there was a ventilator that broke. Terry came into the room, drank, and fell asleep when Robbie and his brother try to escape. With the car keys, his lawyer comes and tells Terry that you have finished everything and closed the bank account. Then two gangsters come to her house to collect money from Terry, because Ruby calls them before and tells them that if you don't come soon then Terry is running away. Terry then showed the lawyer that he was my business partner and that he had stolen all my money. Two gangsters kill the lawyer and forcibly take Terry away, but before Ruby can release the car's brakes. On the road their car gets out of control and causes an accident. Ruby and her brother, on the other hand, were walking down the street when the police came to help. As they were leaving, they saw an accident on the road, and the police got out of the car and saw Terry alive. And he killed the policeman. He walks down the street with a police pistol and tries to kill Ruby, but Ruby kills Terry in a frightened car and he dies. Ruby and her brother are then seen with her uncle and taken away with them. Then the movie ends.